Armored Warfare talks about modern tank tactics, features, and realism. Dark Blood Online brings in a new Elf Hunter class. Skyforge shows off some cool boss mechanics, and pretty much all of your favorite MMOs are doing holiday events, and we've got a guide to all of them. What's happening, guys? James Blonde here with MMOHuts.com with a quick weekly recap for MMO news and announcements of the weekend in December 22nd, 2014. And starting at the news on this Christmas Eve, we've got a brand new cinematic trailer for the new Eclipse expansion to Perfect World International. According to the official press release, the new trailer here highlights the tension and danger of the new experiences coming to the game. Players now begin their adventure in the new Celestial Vale starting zone, uniting all of the player races and classes together into one region. Also new to this expansion is the Ethereal Nightshade race, along with two new classes to go with that. Powered by the moon, the Nightshade brings in the saber-wielding Duskblade and the scythe-equipped Stormbringer. Additional content includes a new in-game dungeon, revamped skill training system, optimized dailies, and plenty more. The new expansion was delayed a little bit, but now seems to be available, and seeing that new trailers are a little bit rare for PWI, the new expansion is probably a big deal. As a continuation from the lore trailer released the week before last, Echo of Soul developers released a brand new dev diary this past week discussing more of the game's features, lore, and gameplay. And honestly, the video is actually really good about answering some of the questions that we've had about the game. The developers mentioned that the game has more initial content than most other MMOs, with 68 areas and over 1,600 quests available at launch. Players will have the option to level their characters through PvE or PvP, which is really nice, with no pressure to change your style of play. Now, although this doesn't quite tell us whether or not the game is going to be awesome when it comes out, it's always nice hearing about some of the features that we like to see in our MMOs. Next up, the Alad's team at Obsidian Entertainment revealed a new Let's Play video for Skyforge. Here, the development director and class designer tore through one of the solo instances in Skyforge called the Lambert Catacombs, discussing the various combat mechanics presented in the dungeon while showcasing the unique skill sets available for two of the game's starting classes, the Paladin and the Cryomancer. Both classes look absolutely awesome, but I also like the way the boss fights are set up here. The first one, you actually have to make him choke on his minions by not directly inflicting damage on him, but by kicking these little guys at him. And the second boss room here has a buff that pops up in the center, and you've got to race the boss over to it at certain times. Otherwise, he gets the buff instead, and that could end up being bad news for you. Really cool example of some awesome game and boss mechanics. Makes me even more excited to play the game. Just in time for the winter season, Trove introduced a new ranged class called Ice Sage. If you hop into Trove, you'll notice the holiday transformation from ice to decorations in the hub area. The new class fits right in with a passive that prevents you from sliding on this ice. Their first ability is Ice Crash, which drops a giant icicle from way above the enemy's heads, and with Frozen Ward, the Ice Sage can become completely immune to the next incoming attack while benefiting from a nice speed boost. Their ultimate is kind of like Emir's from Smite, which explodes in an intense focused blast of icicles, freezing and damaging enemies all in the area. So, hurling frozen magic at enemies, the Ice Sage is now the coolest caster on the block. KOG Games announced last week the launch of the new menacing job path for Elsword's nine-tailed fox character, Ara, as the Little Specter. Ara Haan's third job path opens her up to exploring her ancestors' exorcism arts. Kinda gives you an idea of what's going on here. As a combo, players can combo 3 new job-specific skills in succession in order to unlock a secret skill. Once executed successfully, Ara jumps and disappears, then quickly reappears above the enemy last struck by Darkness Sever, one of her other skills, before crashing down on the enemy, setting off a storm of specters, damaging all enemies in that area. DizzyBW actually got a chance to get an exclusive preview of the Little Specter with GM Moshup and GM Crow, so you can pick up even more information from his interview/preview video if you haven't already. And speaking of new characters and classes, Nexon GT announced a new content update for Dark Blood Online this past week, featuring a new Elf Hunter class. According to the official press release, this beautiful and sexy new class utilizes the bow for long-distance attacks and also has skills utilizing a harpoon and grenade with water elements, plus a totally new final skill that gives double damage, the strongest one in the game so far. From here, you can decide to become a shooter or a trickster, and the shooter is specialized with the longbow and can attack multiple targets with wide range. The trickster path, on the other hand, is specialized with the short bow, who can attack faster at the sacrifice of distance. Now, as a fan of Dark Blood Online, it's kinda nice to finally see some updates after its relaunch. Next up, Paradox Interactive and Paradox North finally introduced custom matches to Magicka Wizard Wars this past week, and according to the post, players can even set up password-protected matches to make sure only their friends will be subject to their electrified death rays. The best part here is that players will have the freedom to arrange matches between teams of 3v3, 4v2, 1v1, or pretty much any other combination in between. So apparently Christmas must mean war. To some developers anyway, because we've got a lot of war game news this week. Starting out with World of Warships reviewing its first beta weekend, which held 47,000 people from around the world testing the game at the same time. The new video released is titled What's Next, as in what's next beta-wise and what's in store for 2015. And according to the new video, applications for the second closed beta will start going out on January 20th of the new year, and the beta itself will start somewhere around that time, giving even more players access this time around, so way more than the 47,000 they started with. If you get accepted to this upcoming beta, you'll actually get accepted to take part in the closed beta, which is probably going to start in the first quarter of 2015, now that we have a little bit more information. World of Tanks also has a semi-beefy update that was recently released. Update 9.5 brings in 3 new maps, Mittengard, Ghost Town, and Winterberg, which is a snowy version of Ruinberg. 11 new British vehicles covering every tier from Tier 2 to Tier 10, and enhancements to the minimap. Now you'll have a camera direction beam that indicates where your camera view is pointed from where you are all the way across the map. And this works nicely with the new sector of fire display for artillery, showing you the limit of their traverse. Vehicle labels are now shown for both teams, and enemies last seen on radar now leave a faded marker on the minimap, right where they disappeared from view. Likewise, the Cavalry Rise in War Thunder Update 1.45, also known as Steel Generals, bringing in tanks from the US. Now this update is huge. It's actually more of an expansion, introducing plenty of new and improved features, including new maps, new armored vehicles and aircraft, an improved damage model, a tow cable system, and reworked artillery strikes. But the biggest addition to the update, like I mentioned, is the beta of Steel Generals, which includes the first 6 American tanks now available in-game. This is actually a pretty huge update, so you're going to want to check out the details at MMOHuts site post from the link in the description below. And last but not least, for tank news anyway, Armored Warfare developers post a new video offering insight about the modern warfare setup of the game, the level of detail that they're trying to go for, and the importance of realism and strategy. So what sort of modern changes have been put into place? Well, let's just say smoke grenades, explosive reactive armor, and anti-missile protection systems are definitely something that you can expect to see in the game. And I can say that if you want to question the developer's level of detail on each tank, make sure you watch the entire video. These guys are starting with stuff that World of Tanks and War Thunder are just now recently putting into their games. Pretty cool stuff. It didn't get mentioned this last recap, but recently MechWarrior Online introduced its Community Warfare beta that players have been waiting for almost over a year now. Community Warfare allows players to align with 10 different house factions, and with the new Invasion game mode, players are set against each other in both attack and defense roles to vie for planetary control. Players are launched into an active battlefield where the attacking team must breach the map's defenses and destroy the defending team's orbital defense gun. All in all, it seems like it's a pretty intense update, probably worth hopping back into the game to check out. Next up, an English translated version of the Tree of Savior Korean closed beta test schedule has shown up from treeofsaviorgame.com and has revealed that this upcoming Monday, December 29th, all the way to Sunday, January 11th, marks the recruitment time for the first batch of closed beta testers for the Korean test. And these select people will be announced on January 14th on their website. So it's actually a really few testers, only 1,000 people. The test starts on January 15th, it ends on the 18th, so hopefully you guys within the area to try out the Korean test find this news helpful. But for us in the West, we'll probably have to wait a while. And finally, the rest of the news this past week is pretty much all the hype for Christmas and the giveaways and events that are going on in all your favorite MMOs. And you can see playing in the background here, we've got Tryon World's Christmas Roundup video for all of their games. We've also got a special holiday events guide at MMOHuts.com that'll make it so much easier for you guys to figure out where to find the coolest holiday activities and goodies from all of these games. But other than that, guys, that's pretty much all the major MMO news and announcements for this week. If you're looking for more information about the topics featured in the recap, check the links in the description below or head over to MMOHuts.com/news for even more MMO news. Feel free to discuss the news in the comments below or head over to MMOHuts.com/forums. Have a wonderful Christmas, guys, and until next time, that's going to be it for me. I'm James Blonde. See you out there, gamers.